Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Wednesday, 15th of July. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Cheska Litancala. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
First in the news, the prosecution has dropped Zulaika Lopez and Captain Bello from its witness lineup in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Private prosecutor Lorna Capunan says their testimonies are no longer necessary and would only be redundant since the video of Duterte's alleged threats has already been presented and used by both sides.
Had we been able to present Attorney Zulaika Lopez, she would have proven three things, or we would want to have proven three things. First, that she was personally present inside that detention center when the Vice President uttered the video. Secondly, our second purpose was that Attorney Zulaika Lopez was not only present, but so were other media personnel present there who heard the utterances of the Vice President. And lastly, we would have offered Attorney Zulaika Lopez to Zulaika Lopez to confirm the authenticity and the provenance of that video.
Meanwhile, NBI Regional Director Jeremy Lotok told the court the video was not AI generated, fabricated, or spliced. The impeachment court will next take up the prosecution's request for Duterte's bank, AMLAC, and BIR records.
Yung authenticated video ba AI?
No, sir.
Ito ba
Yes,
fabricated?
No, sir. It's
Ito
not
ba
fabricated.
spliced?
Hindi po, sir.
So in other words, yung video ay accurate
Yes, sir.
and representation of what happened.
Authenticated.
Kasi
sir. Yes, po.
dalawang linggo na nating dinedebate kung i-admit ba o hindi.
One of the ways to identify whether AI siya o hindi, isa ho doon yung tinatawag naming visual analysis. Number one, yung human anatomy anomalies. So pag yung merong asymmetrical facial feature, pag merong unnatural positioning of hands.
So again, it was a lengthy cross-examination by the defense to the witness of the prosecution. At tulad ng sinabi nga ni Senator Kiko, medyo nagpaikot-ikot sila doon. And the key highlights yesterday was, of course, the bombshell, yung sinabi ni Attorney Lorna Capunan that they will drop Zulaika Lopez and Bello, no? Para dun sa maging witness ng kanilang article of impeachment. I was able to talk to Attorney Lorna Capunan earlier today sa Good Morning Kapatid, and she said nga there's a possibility pa rin na mapatawag si Attorney Zulaika Lopez on the other elements of the impeachment. Kasi doon naman daw talaga siya nakalagay doon sa confidential funds and explained wealth doon sa article of impeachment na yun. So yun yung mga naging highlight yesterday. And of course, yung si Jeremy Lotok has already completed his statement after 2 days, no? 2 days on the witness stand. Tapos Operation Romanov was also brought up yesterday. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano presses the distinction of warning versus threat. And then Senator Pia Cayetano naman questions the elements of grave threat. And of course, Senate pushes for faster trial.
Yes. And we also heard Attorney Lotok say na parang the first mention daw of Operation Romanov came from Mayor Baste Duterte during the Maisog rally. But also we're becoming very legalistic in this trial kasi ang daming mga sinasite like yung precedent for inciting to sedition. May sinabi si Attorney Lotok na People versus Nabong. So that was okay. Para lang may context mga tao because ang daming sinasabi. We tend to get lost na eh. So People versus Nabong was a landmark Supreme Court ruling back in 1932. Attorney Nabong was representing a communist leader, and then he said these things at a meeting daw, inciting people, urging people to overthrow the government. So even after the meeting, arrested na siya. So yung point daw nun is, it's not necessary for the words used to actually result in a disturbance. It's the mere fact na the words were uttered that endanger public order.
So there's a lot of criticism no, na this impeachment trial has been too over-judicialized, too legalistic, too technical. But it's also good that both sides are now recalibrating, re-evaluating. And that's why the prosecution opted to drop Attorney Zulaika and Captain Bello as their witnesses. Sabi nga ni Attorney Lorna Capunan, no, kung tinanong siya, if natakot ba yung prosecution sa sasabihin ni Attorney Zulaika Lopez, if that's a reason why she was dropped, but Attorney Capunan said no. In fact, she was supposed to be the one to cross-examine Attorney Lopez, and if we know Attorney Lorna, she doesn't back down from any challenge. Sabi nga niya, diba, she kills a mosquito with an atomic bomb. So, sayang sana yung magiging examination, diba? But as Attorney Capunan mentioned, Attorney Zulaika could still come up as a witness in future articles of impeachment. And ang ganda din ng sinabi ni Attorney Lorna kahapon na itong impeachment trial hindi naman papugian din ng lawyers. So they should go back to what they're really doing, and that is to prove kung impeachable offense nga ba talaga yung ginawa ni VP.
Which is also, we were left to wonder also bakit na bring up nung defense lawyer, Vinluan, if I'm not mistaken, na 80% yung naging grade ni VP Sara sa bar exam, and baka daw mas mataas pa within, di ba ano daw relevance? Pero siguro kasi, on my point of view, siguro pinapakita nila na matalino naman si VP Sara at hindi niya gagawin whatever the things that they are accusing her of na magpapahamak sa kanya. Pero yun nga, tinignan ko naman, ako naman chinek ko. Ano kaya yung mga grades ng mga lawyers na nandoon, present doon? Most of them private kasi, di ba? That's their prerogative naman. But I saw Congresswoman Laila De Lima. Siya ay 86 point something. Top 8 siya in her time, 1995. So, mas mataas yun sa 80.
Yun in conclusion.
In conclusion. Pero yun lang, natawa lang ako na nag-aanuhan. Ako, basta ako, hindi ako lawyer. Hindi tayo lawyer.
Wala pa lang sa 80%.
Yes,
Okay, but today, so no witnesses will take the stand today. The impeachment court will be tackling the oral arguments of both sides, the prosecution and the defense. They will have 15 minutes each, na increase na yan from 10 to 15 minutes. So they will present their arguments on whether the tax documents, bank documents, and AMLAC records of Vice President Sara Duterte should be subpoenaed. Yun yung abangan natin. Later, we will be speaking to impeachment court spokesperson Attorney Reggie Tongkol about that. But in other news, the Sandigan Bayan has ordered Senator Rodante Marcoleta to appear before the anti-graft court today for a hearing on his health and detention status. The court will determine whether he will remain confined at the Philippine National Police General Hospital or be transferred to a regular detention facility while facing plunder charges. On Tuesday, Marcoleta underwent an independent medical examination at the University of the Philippines Philippine General Hospital, or UPPGH. He was transported to the hospital in a wheelchair while wearing a detainee shirt and a bulletproof vest. Authorities said his vital signs are stable. Marcoleta was previously diagnosed with mild pneumonia and degenerative disc disease.
Rather than doubting yung evaluation po ng ating mga doctors dito, ay ginawa po ito ng Sandigan Bayan para po ma-erase na nga any doubts from the public. Yung doubts at yung agam-agam ng ating publiko. Ayaw po natin pangunahan, pero we stand by our doctors here na they will not gamble with their futures, with their careers, para po walang reason para gawin po nila yan.
So earlier this week, doctors from the PNP-GH have said that Senator Marcoleta is already clinically stable. He just needs to finish his antibiotics for the mild pneumonia he is experiencing. Kinailangan, no, sinabi ng Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division, why not get an independent examination with UP-PGH to confirm what his health status really is. So yesterday, he underwent a 2D scan, an X-ray, a blood test, and respiratory test, as well as a physical examination. But he was also transported back to the PNP General Hospital. And if he is deemed to be really fit, he will be transferred to the New Quezon City Jail because nga today rin, meron din siyang hearing, right, before the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division.
Actually, that was scheduled at 8:30.
Oh, okay.
This morning. So he should be there by now. But also yesterday daw yung blood pressure niya when he left PNP hospital, it was 130/80. When he arrived at PGH, nag-160/70.
So, tumaas.
Bakit
Stress siya siguro.
Stress siya on the way
Stress
there.
siya, oo. Pero if you can remember, just before he was arrested, di ba, Marcoleta was up and about. He even went to the rally of the INC. Tapos, he also went to the Sandigan Bayan para nga dun sa motion to quash, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people are quick to think na buti na lang sinabi ng Sandigan Bayan na magpa-check up na lang siya sa independent body because nagkaroon ng parang duda nga doon sa PNP or pag-question doon sa PNP because of what happened. Why did they allow visitors, diba? Si VP Sara was there, Senator Robin Padilla visited them as well. And when in fact they said that he has mild pneumonia,
Yes.
diba? Bakit di wala silang mask, ganyan-ganyan. And yung parang reason or justification ng CIDJ unit, why did they allow them to visit him with that condition, ay sinasabi niya because it was the request of the family. As if naman, the family or the detainee has the right to dictate, diba, doon sa atin, kung ano ba yung sino ba yung dapat bumisita, dapat bang bumisita o hindi. So syempre yung mga tao, hindi mo rin sila maiwasan makapag-isip na bakit may mga special treatment na ganito. When in fact, for an ordinary person na maaresto na ganito, I don't think that's going to be like this, diba?
All right, now for entertainment news. Actress Bea Alonzo and businessman Vincent Co have reportedly tied the knot in an intimate civil wedding in Makati. Entertainment reporter Audrey Diaz claims the ceremony was held Monday night at Makati City Hall with only a few guests present. The reported wedding comes after months of speculation that the couple had already called off their planned ceremony in Spain. Alonzo and Co have yet to publicly confirm the marriage. So far we've seen Makati Mayor Nancy Binay post a selfie with Bea at City Hall. And then the caption was yung hashtag one more chance.
Wow!
But no confirmation. Ayan, so this is the picture of the newlywed couple. Congratulations and best wishes.
Mabuhay ang bagong kasal.
I love it!
Kasama na mabuhay ang bagong kasal.
Wala pa flowers. Ayan yung brooch mo na lang yagis natin.
Ko na lang.
Pero hindi, di ba? After all the things that have happened sa kanila, yung hurdles and the chismes and etc., talagang masasabi mo love wins.
Yeah.
Di ba? So, congratulations and we hope for the best dito sa couple.
Yes.
Yan talaga yung ano natin eh. Yan yung highlight of the day natin yesterday.
Yung nagulat. At actually, kahit si Attorney Lorna tinanong about it kagabi, client pala niya si Bea.
Yes,
So she was asked what her reaction was, and then kahit si Attorney Kapuna nagulat na, natuloy na. And she was even asked, nasa press ko naman yan ni Attorney Lorna, if she drafted the prenup agreement. Sabi ni Attorney Lorna, I did not, but I wish I did.
Tapos ano yung advice niya? Please do not get married.
Sabi niya sa mga female reporters, my advice is, girls, don't get married.
Sabi niya. Pero kanina din tinanong din namin siya eh. Sabi ko, kasi may mga chismis, alam mo naman, dami mga chismis na, you were present daw, you're one of the witnesses in that civil wedding. Sabi niya, ay naku, wala. Busy ako sa impeachment. And we saw her naman yesterday. She was the one who...
I'm so shocked that you were able to speak with her that early in the morning. Kasi anong oras na rin natapos?
Yes. So to be fair naman,
Grabe.
she took our call. So thank you.
Wow. All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The House Prosecution Panel has decided not to present Attorney Zuleika Lopez and Captain Belinda Bello as witnesses in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte on the article of impeachment concerning the alleged grave threats. And for more details, let's bring in our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza. Amy, bakit nga ba napagpasyahan na i-withdraw ng prosecution itong dalawang witness?
Yes, Pauline, during the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte yesterday, napagpasyahan ng prosecution team na hindi na nga muna ipresenta si Attorney Zuleika Lopez at si Captain Belinda Bello para nga dito sa grave threats and destabilization article of impeachment na pinipresenta mismo ng prosecution. Ang naging dahilan dyan at ay ipinaliwanag ni Attorney Lorna Capuna na siyang counsel for the prosecutors ay meron daw, nakikita daw nila na unnecessary, magkakaroon ng surplusage at redundancy pagdating dito sa pagpresenta nga kay Attorney Lopez kahit kay Captain Bello, no. Pero ang naging point of focus din dito, no, Pauline, ay yung kay Attorney Zuleika Lopez nga kung saan tatlong bagay daw kasi ang nais ding mapatunayan, no, ng prosekusyon sa subpoena para nga maging witness itong si Lopez. At ang nasabi niya, isa sa mga yan ay yung pag-confirm nga na authenticated yung video press conference si Vice President Sara Duterte dated November 23, 2024. Bukod pa dyan, na-confirm na rin naman, no, doon sa dalawang nagdaang witness ng prosecution na si NBI Senior Agent John Mark Calilung at NBI Regional Director Attorney Jeremy Lotoc na may iba pang tao doon sa loob ng Zoom press conference, kabilang na nga dyan yung media personalities. At nakikita rin daw kasi nila, no, Pauline, na yung paggamit nga ng depensa doon sa video press conference as a supplemental document or as a document para nga sa cross-examination just asserts na kino-confirm nitong defense na totoo yung video dahil more than 10 times din daw na-mention ito ngang video mismo ni Attorney Lopez at ni Vice President Sara Duterte doon sa press conference noong November 2024. So sa ngayon, mag-move forward na ang prosecution sa kanilang susunod na witness that is going to be on Monday. Pero today, what we are expecting also is for the oral arguments to begin regarding the subpoena for the tax records of Vice President Sara Duterte and her husband, Attorney Man Scarpio. And the procedures have changed. No, narinig natin kahapon, no, na magkakaroon ng 15 minutes for the presentation of the sides of both the prosecution and the defense. And then after that, merong chance to rebut for both the prosecution and the defense also for 10 minutes. At magkakaroon ng caucus itong senators in which pwede silang magsagawa ng manifestation for 10 minutes as well. So yun yung mga abangan natin for today, Pauline.
Okay, as you mentioned, Amy, ang agenda today is for the oral arguments of both parties. Pero today na rin ba pagbobotohan ng mga senator judges kung ipapasapi na nga ang tax records, bank records at AMLAC records ni Vice President Sara Duterte?
For today, I think we could only assume, no, na yung arguments pa lang din talaga yung mangyayari. Pero seeing na merong caucus na possible nga na mangyari among the senator judges, may chance din naman, no, na doon na mapagdesisyonan kasi nakikita natin every Wednesday yung magiging day na ilalaan mismo nitong Senate Impeachment Court para nga mag-subpoena rin ang prosecution sa mga kinakailangan nila. So it could be the subpoena for the testimony or subpoena for the documents. At yun nga, nakaset na sa July 20, ito nga si NBI Director Melvin Matibag. Pero kasi if it ends, ang possible kasi ay ituloy na ito talaga sa article ng confidential funds naman. And this tax records and also the bank records of Vice President Sara Duterte are crucial para nga din maipresenta ng prosecution yung kanilang arguments pagdating naman dito sa article ng confidential funds.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Now, Senator Rodante Marcoleta was escorted out of the Philippine National Police General Hospital for his scheduled appearance before the Sandigan Bayan. And for the details, we have mobile journalist Jazz Paredes reporting for us this morning. Jazz, what's the latest there?
Yes, Pauline, at around 7:58 a.m. nga kanina, ay nakita natin ang paglabas ni Senador Dante Marcoleta mula sa PNP General Hospital upang iharap siya sa Sandigan Bayan at siya ay inescortan ng CIDG at kaugnay yan ng request ng korte na siya ay magpakita ng personal nga para sa kanyang arraignment along with us other co-accused sa kasong plunder. And Pauline, kung matatandaan natin, yesterday he was also brought out of the PNP General Hospital para naman siya ay dalhin sa UP-PGH para sa kanyang independent medical assessment which was also requested by the court na siya ay masuri ng isang third-party hospital. Kaugnay ng kanyang binawang pagsusuri sa kanya, Pauline, we have yet to receive information kung ano yung kinalabasan ng kanyang medical report. But what we know so far is kagaya ng mga naunang test na ginawa sa kanya sa PNPGH ay kinuhaan siya ng vital signs, kanyang blood pressure, sumailalim ulit siya sa 2D echo at iba pang medical examination na nauna nang ginawa dito sa PNPGH at naging pagdilinaw naman sa atin ng kapulisan na itong ginawang pangalawang test or pagsusuri ay hindi raw para pagdudahan ang kapasidad at ang findings ng PNPGH. Ito lamang ay para mawala ang agam-agam ng publiko tungkol sa tunay na kondisyon nga ni Senador Dante Marcoleta. Sa ngayon, Pauline, inaabangan natin kung magtutugma ba or the findings ng UP-PGH and PNPGH are the same. At ang inaasahan natin, kagaya ng nilabas na resolusyon ng korte, itong magiging pagsusuri, resulta ng pagsusuri ay magiging basehan kung kinakailangan pang pagpatuloy ni Senador Dante Marcoleta yung kanyang confinement sa PNPGH. Sa ngayon, inaabangan din natin, Pauline, magiging desisyon nga ng Sandigan Bayan at sa kanilang desisyon ay malalaman natin kung tuluyan na siyang i-commit ngayong araw, dadalhin siya sa New Quezon City Jail sa Payatas, male dormitory, o babalik siya dito sa PNPGH. So yan ang aabangan natin, Pauline, kung babalik pa siya dito o tuluyan na nga siyang i-detain. Pauline.
Thank you very much for that update. That was mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. And in other news, the Trump administration is escalating its campaign against the International Criminal Court with visa bans, sanctions, and other measures aimed at blocking cases against American personnel. More details in this report.
Malacanang has distanced itself from the U.S. campaign against the International Criminal Court. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Philippine government has nothing to do with policies of the United States. This statement follows the Trump administration's announcement of a government-wide campaign against what it called the ICC's threat to its sovereignty. The bid aims to prevent the foreign court from prosecuting American service members and government officials. Proposed measures include diplomatic efforts, visa restrictions, travel bans, and sanctions against ICC personnel and affiliated organizations.
As we speak, the ICC and its friends are waging a war against our country, not with bullets or missiles, but with statutes, compacts, and the force of so-called international law. This administration will not sit by as the ICC and its allies seek to threaten our people.
The Philippines was a state party to the Rome Statute until former President Rodrigo Duterte withdrew the country from the treaty in 2019. Duterte is now detained in The Hague and will be tried in November over crimes against humanity charges linked to his drug war. But one expert says the Trump administration's pressure campaign won't affect Digong's upcoming trial.
Tingin ko hindi naman, no? Hindi naman tayo apektado kasi una advantageous nga sa Amerika, no? Na si former President Rodrigo Duterte being prosecuted kasi kung makabalik yung mga Dutertes, mga pro-China yung mga yan, no? And ang US naman, tignan mo talagang nagpapadala nga ng mga sundalo dito sa ating bansa para kontrahin yung ginagawa ng China to really expand its influence and its territorial claim within Asia, no? So tingin ko hindi nila masyadong pag-iinitan 'yan.
Attorney Danielito Jimenez said the prosecution and the defense are trying to make the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte theatrical as both sides seek to appeal to the public. In an interview with One News's Political Beat, Jimenez said the proceedings are both legal and political, with each camp employing strategies that extend beyond the courtroom. He also added that the defense's effort to establish alleged bias on the part of the National Bureau of Investigation is not relevant to the central issue of whether an alleged grave threat was committed. Jimenez also said the impeachment trial has become a vehicle for the 2028 elections, adding that the proceedings could influence undecided voters in the next presidential race.
We must remember that this is both political and legal. If we will be too strict about it, all that the prosecution needs to establish is the grave threat that was committed by the Vice President. Nothing more, nothing less. But I think at the end of the day, they try to make it theatrical because people are watching. So sa dulo, I suppose because of the political nature of the impeachment proceedings, the votes of the senator judges would not really be strictly geared towards legal. Kaya ganun din ang strategy ng defense, di ba? Earlier, pinalabas din yung video recording where the Vice President uttered some unsavory remarks against the House. Parang anong nangyayari na?
Parang
with
trial lang.
utmost respect, parang madami na ding nag-grandstanding di ba? So parang nagiging vehicle siya for...
Oh, don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, the information technology business process management industry cuts its revenue and employment targets for 2028 because of the rapid adoptions of AI and tighter global competition. This comes as the report shows nearly 1 in 3 Philippine jobs is now exposed to generative AI, with women and youth at the sharp end of that shift. We speak with the author of the latest report of the International Labor Organization, Christian Vigelan. And the peso slid to its weakest in a month amid renewed attacks in the Middle East. Philippine IT and business process management industry has lowered its 2028 revenue and employment targets. This comes as artificial intelligence reshapes the industry and global competition intensifies. Under its updated roadmap, the IT Business Process Association of the Philippines now expects the industry to generate between $43 billion and $50 billion in revenues by 2028. It also projects an AI-enabled workforce of between 1.85 million and 2.14 million. Both targets are lower than the group's previous goal of $59 billion in revenues and 2.5 million workers. The organization said the revision reflects the rapid adoption of AI, changing client demand, and tougher global competition. Meantime, the Bangko Sentral has issued its first governance principles for the use of AI in financial services. The guidelines apply to all BSP-supervised financial institutions. The central bank said the framework promotes responsible AI use while protecting consumers and preserving trust in the financial system. The principles are built around sustainability, transparency, accountability, responsibility, and security. Nearly 1 in 3 Philippine jobs is now exposed to generative AI, with women and youth at the sharp end of that shift, according to the International Labor Organization. Here to break down what this means for Filipino workers, live from Bangkok, ILO's labor economist, Christian Vegalan. He is the author of the ILO's new ASEAN Gen AI report. It's good seeing you again, Christian. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kathy.
All right, so how should policymakers and the public read the fact that over 28% of the jobs here in the Philippines are exposed to Gen AI, second to Singapore in ASEAN? Is this primarily a risk signal or a competitive opportunity for the Philippines?
Yeah, so I think it's very important to consider, what does exposure actually mean? So exposure does mean that AI can affect some tasks in a job, and high exposure would mean that it's technically possible for AI to affect actually many tasks of a job, but it does not automatically mean that a job will disappear. So AI certainly can increase productivity, and in the meanwhile, there's a lot of evidence out there at the micro level, at the individual worker level, that this does indeed happen. It can reduce repetitive work. It allows workers to focus on higher value-added tasks. So in that sense, it is certainly an opportunity. But I think the risks only arise if workers and enterprises, especially small enterprises, are not really supported in that transition. Supported in terms of skills development, training, supported in terms of what does it mean to responsibly adopt AI, and so on. So I think that the policy challenge is really how to help workers and firms as well to benefit from these opportunities.
Yeah, and there's the big if, a big condition there, and the signaling really is so important. The IBPAP president and CEO, Jack Madrid, just told us of revised projections, slashing revenue and employment targets for 2028 because of the rapid adoption of AI and its revised roadmap. So what do you think that tells us, Christian, as you are seeing Gen AI exposure as largely concentrated in IT BPM roles here in the Philippines?
Yeah, it certainly means that changes are happening. So jobs are changing, and also the demands out there, for these services are changing. So it is very important, of course, to somehow, embrace this change and deal with it and try to actually, derive competitive advantages out of it. So I think it's really about looking at, how can the industry use AI in a way that it remains globally competitive, while at the same time continuing to create decent jobs in the Philippines and incomes.
It is changing tasks, that's for sure, but is it changing tasks fast enough, faster than it's killing jobs? Because the high exposure that you've mentioned in your report, we're not seeing visibly yet in terms of widespread job disruption. In fact, employment in highly exposed occupation is still growing, according to your report.
Yeah, absolutely. And really that illustrates that exposure indeed does not automatically translate into job loss. So it's really, when we look at those jobs that are highly exposed by generative AI, and here I'm looking at clerical customer service jobs, administrative types of jobs, especially that have high exposure, then it is very important to consider that, these roles are certainly undergoing change. They are being transformed, but they are not necessarily going to completely disappear. So certainly, workers are still needed at this stage to perform communication, coordination, and problem-solving tasks. So this does remain important. And, certainly we don't really see yet any strong signals in terms of, when we look at unemployment rate, total, and, looking at different segments of the labor market. So we don't really see any, let's say, negative impact on the labor market.
Let's take a look at the demographic, though. You made a mention of the certain segments in the labor market and put over a gender lens. The women in the Philippines, they're more than twice as likely as men to be in high Gen AI exposure occupations, considering that a lot of them are in the clerical and service work that you just mentioned. So how worrisome is that from an equality lens?
No, I mean, it certainly suggests that gender is, let's say, a lens that, policymakers may should keep in their mind, when looking at how AI is impacting the labor market and what are some potential responses to it. But then, I think, again, it should also be perceived as an opportunity, actually, as an opportunity to perhaps even narrow gender gaps that have been existing in the Philippines, but also elsewhere. Because it is really about ensuring that, all workers, regardless of background in terms of sex, age group, and so on, have access to appropriate skills training, digital skills, AI training, that have access to career progression. And it's really this what policymakers should focus on.
So what exactly in terms of skilling, the kind and scale of upskilling and reskilling programs that the Philippines needs, especially for the women and youth that are most exposed to Gen AI?
Yeah, so I think Philippines has already some strong foundations in place through its AI strategy that puts a lot of emphasis actually on the skills angle. So priority competencies certainly include AI, digital literacy, data literacy, and also knowledge around responsible and ethical use of AI. But it's not only that. So I think what is really important to consider is that what remains important, and this is also what we see when we look at some of the vacancy data that is available from some countries in this world, that critical thinking and problem-solving skills do remain important. Communication, collaboration skills do remain important. Social, emotional skills do remain important. So, I mean, it's really the whole package that is needed in order to remain competitive in today's labor market and economy.
That's the whole package, Christian, that the young employees or potential workers are looking for. I mean, your research shows that the young workers aged 15 to 24 have similar Gen I exposure levels to adults. So in the Philippine context, how does this alter the way that the government here and employers should think about youth employment and the career paths and their school to work transitions?
Yeah, so it's certainly that these trends are extremely important to consider when policymakers decide about what is curriculum in schools. What are the kind of skills needed on the labor market? What are let's say the skills that youth need to really excel and to contribute productively? So that also puts the emphasis again on the need to forecast the skills and to have systems in place to basically rapidly adopt as well. And this is also really something that remains important, is that this concept of lifelong learning is extremely important in today's times when we experience so many changes happening within a relatively short period of time. So it is also about, let's say, transmitting that attitude to potential future workers to basically remain agile and remain adaptable to the circumstances.
What sort of attitudes are you finding that are getting in the way? Attitudes maybe in terms of the approach of government or maybe the approach of the private sector when it comes to Gen AI?
I think private sector is very well aware of what is really needed, and I think it's really about trying to keep or perceive that skills challenge as something that actually is a challenge and an opportunity at the same time for the whole country. So it's not really that one actor alone can solve this problem. So it's really about governments, employers, and workers coming together and really trying to find solutions to some of the challenges, and as well leverage some of the opportunities that are out there. So that's why in the design of some of these programs to support workers and enterprises, it's really important to have that social dialogue around these topics and really find solutions where different stakeholders can contribute and then also benefit from it.
And also generate that preparedness, so important for a country like the Philippines, highly exposed labor market, really depend on how prepared we are in terms of maybe aspects like digital infrastructure, education and training we've talked about, those social protections you mentioned, and the labor institutions. But where do you think the Philippines is currently strong and where is it weak, Christian, considering that we're in a unique place, that the country is still within that state of an energy emergency, having to grapple with an oil shock before it can plan out ahead?
Yeah, so it's really about making sure that this whole package is there, and you mentioned some of these important elements. So it's not only about IT, digital infrastructure. It's really also about considering that labor market angle, of what is going to be there in terms of impact of AI. How can we benefit from it? It's really about adopting that employment-centered and human-centered approach, because in the end, what do we want? So I think it's not just about more AI and more AI use. It's really about how can we really, as an economy, derive those benefits and use AI responsibly and in a sustainable way, so that really all workers, all enterprises can benefit, and no one is left behind in that game.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for your insights, Christian. Very interesting. Christian Vigelan of the International Labor Organization in Bangkok. In other news, U.S. President Donald Trump has walked back his plan to charge fees on ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Trump had floated the idea of charging a shipping fee in return for the U.S. providing security. The amount would be 20% of the value of all cargo shipped through the strait. But leaders from Gulf countries supposedly called Trump to drop the plan and offered an alternative.
They said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars, and we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. I don't like the concept of a fee, but at the same time, it's not fair that we're protecting this strait for the entire world, for China and everyone. I don't mind protecting it for China. I don't mind protecting it for anybody, but it's unfair that we're not in somehow compensated. And we've been doing this for many years.
The United Nations is concerned by the recent hostilities and has called on countries to respect free movement of shipping. In a televised interview, Trump has warned Iran would be, quote, very hard hit through the next week, with targets including civilian infrastructure like bridges and power plants. The U.S. has pushed through with its naval blockade of Iranian ports, which could further impact the global economy. Oil prices edged up 1% as of 8:30 a.m. Philippine time. Benchmark Brent crude is trading at $85 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate sitting at $80 a barrel. You're watching Money Talks. Coming up, the mandated 85 peso wage hike in Metro Manila spurs calls from manufacturers for a sharp focus on worker productivity. An excerpt of my thought leaders interview with Federation of Philippine Industries chairperson Elizabeth Lee. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. The impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte enters its sixth day following another round of testimony and legal arguments before the Senate Impeachment Court. For a look at what to expect from today's proceedings, we now go live to our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza. Amy, good morning. What were the key developments on day 5 and how could these shape today's hearing?
Yes, good morning, Kathy. During the 5th day of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, we have seen the prosecution withdrawing their motion to testify for the witness, Attorney Zulaika Lopez, and also Captain Belinda Bello for the article of grave threats and destabilization. Kahapon, Kathy, nung napakinggan natin, no, ang nasasabi nilang rason dito ay unnecessary, redundant, and maaring may surplusage na of information kung sakali sakaling mag-testify pa si Attorney Lopez at si Bello para nga sa nasabing article of impeachment. Ang nakikita daw kasi dito para i-test si Attorney Lopez ay doon nga daw sa pag-verify o pag-confirm na authentic yung video press conference ni Vice President Sara Duterte dated November 23, 2024. At dahil nga din daw parang naamin na rin ng defense team doon sa kanilang cross-examination, andun talaga si Attorney Lopez sa video press conference ni Vice President Sara Duterte, ay nakita nilang unnecessary na tanungin pa at magkaroon ng examination para nga kay Lopez. Kahapon, medyo naging mahaba din yung nakita nating cross-examination pagdating nga dito kay NBI Regional Director Attorney Jeremy Lotok, kung saan napakinggan natin na walang epekto din yung mga nasasabing typographical errors sa utterances na ginawa ni VP Sara pagdating dito sa pagbabanta laban kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Marcos at former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. So dahil wala na tayong witness na makikita ngayong araw, inaasahan na lang natin na magkakaroon ng oral arguments between the defense and the prosecution pagdating dito sa tax records, bank records at AMLAC records ni Vice President Sara Duterte, kasama din yung sa asawa niyang si Attorney Man Scarpio. Mahalaga daw kasi at crucial din itong documents na ito para nga sa pagpresenta naman ng confidential funds maging nung unexplained wealth ni Vice President Sara Duterte, nakabahagi rin ng ipinasang articles of impeachment ng prosecution dito sa Senate Impeachment Court. So yan yung aasahan natin, merong konting revisions pagdating doon sa procedures dahil magkakaroon pa rin ng caucus ang senator judges before discussing and making a manifestation in the plenary regarding the oral arguments and the motion of both the prosecution and the defense for today.
All right, we'll be monitoring that live later on in our live coverage this afternoon. Thank you, our mobile journalist Amy Atienza reporting live from the Senate. In other news, the Philippine banking industry's total assets climbed to a new record high as of the end of May. Data from the Bangko Sentral showed bank assets rose to 30.442 trillion pesos. That's up nearly 12% from a year ago. It also surpassed the previous record of 30.336 trillion pesos set at the end of March. Union Bank Chief Economist Ruben Asuncion said the growth reflected steady deposit inflows, sustained lending to households and businesses, and higher investment holdings. He added resilient domestic demand and improving financing conditions continue to support the expansion of bank balance sheets. Quick check on the Philippine peso and see how that's opened this morning. It is stronger, 61.60 to the dollar. The peso dropped to a one-month low yesterday, settling at 61.71 against the greenback, nearing the all-time low of 61.75 recorded on May 19. Mike Ricafort of RCBC says the peso was dragged by higher global oil prices following the latest strikes between the U.S. and Iran. Some traders see the local unit falling today to as low as 61.80 to the dollar. Checking in on the markets overseas, U.S. stock futures rise in overnight trading. The Nasdaq climbs a third of 1%. Both the Dow and the S&P are up less than 0.1% each. Asian markets are tracking Wall Street's gains this Wednesday. South Korea's Kospi surges 7%, driven by Samsung and SK Hynix. And Japan's Nikkei 225 is up 0.9%. Australia's ASX 200 rises over 0.5%. Upbeat inflation and booming bank profits lifted U.S. markets this Tuesday. The Nasdaq was up 0.9%. The S&P 500 climbed a third of 1%, and the Dow traded near the flat line. U.S. inflation came in at 3.5% in June, below analysts' expectations of 3.8%. 5 of Wall Street's biggest banks saw a collective 39% jump in quarterly earnings, driven by SpaceX's IPO and gains in equities revenue. Philippine markets slipped in Tuesday's trading as cautious trading persists. The benchmark PSEI dropped 10 points, or 0.1%, to settle at 6,256. First Metro Securities says the local bourse gave up early gains as global sentiment remained fragile over renewed U.S.-Iran tensions. Value turnover thinned to 5.28 billion pesos from the previous day's 16.82 billion. Decliners outnumbered advancers 109 to 82. The broader all-shares index slid 0.1%, with sectoral gauges a mixed bag. 10-year government bond yields ticked up to 7.341%. President Bongbong Marcos says the Terra solar project will help strengthen the country's energy security as the government pushes to expand renewable energy. He made the remarks during the inauguration of Phase 1 of the Terra solar project in Gapan City, Nueva Ecija. The facility is touted as the world's largest operational integrated solar and battery storage project in a single site. Phase 1 has already energized more than 1,300 megawatts of solar capacity, with full commercial operations expected by August. Once the project is completed in 2027, it is expected to deliver up to 3,500 megawatts of solar power. Marcos says that is enough to supply electricity to more than 2.4 million households. He added the project marks a major step in the country's transition to cleaner and more secure energy.
This achievement comes at a time when the need to boost our energy sector has never been more apparent or more urgent. This Terra solar project stands as one of the clearest expressions of that commitment. The Terra solar project is proof that the Philippines is capable not only of envisioning world-class infrastructure, but also delivering it.
The mandated 85 peso wage hike in Metro Manila spurs calls from the Federation of Philippine Industries for a sharp focus on worker productivity. Here's an excerpt of my Thought Leaders interview with FPI Chairperson Elizabeth Lee.
If your baseline is actually increased, you're going to have to adjust all the way up. And at the same time, it not only affects, for example, the baseline, it will also affect your overtime, your 13th month, all those things. You still have to continue paying your SSS, your PhilHealth, etc. So all in all, it might increase the cost for one person about 30%. And that's one of the calculations made by one of my good friends, Ed Lacson. But, so these are the kind of things that add on to the cost of labor, especially in manufacturing, in retail, in logistics. But what's key, Kathy, is if you increase the wage, that's just half the story. The other story is productivity. If you just increase the wage without productivity that's tied to it, you're just putting on extra burden. And nobody really wants to have that. Even the workers want to have productivity because they want to be able to earn more, earn a decent living, not just minimum wage. So how we get to that is really through productivity. And if we were to compare ourselves to our neighbor, Vietnam, they also increased their wages. They also increased. So increasing the wage is not the point. That's just half the story. The other half is productivity. So if we're going to take a look at from the big picture also as an investor, a foreign investor looking in, they're trying to take a look at the productivity of the worker. So that's important, not so much as what's the cost of labor, but the productivity that comes with the cost of labor. That's what's important. So if policymakers are actually looking at how can we help the Philippines or the Filipino feel this UMIC, we're in this upper middle income bracket, it is when they make decisions, you cannot make decisions in isolation of all the other factors. So we cannot work in silos. It's like symphony. It's like it has to be choreographed. It can't just be pull this lever and it's going to make all things better. Because by pulling that lever, especially with this, for example, increase in this wage hike, it also has an effect later on the prices of goods that comes out the other end. And now, wanting to increase the purchasing power, it might have inadvertently negated the purchasing power. So we need to have a whole of a nation approach, I guess, for a lack of a better term.
With FPI Chair Elizabeth Lee and Thought Leaders, 9 p.m. Philippine time on One News and our social media channels. before we go, here's something to watch out for later this year. Opening in cinemas on September 30 is Digger. This dark satirical comedy film stars Academy Award winner Tom Cruise. The story follows the world's most powerful man as he races to prove he is humanity's savior before a disaster of his own making destroys everything.
Unprotected against a disaster. Digger here got us into this mess, and Digger's gonna dig us out again. Well, let's go.
Also this September, Harry Potter, a Yule Ball celebration makes its Philippine debut at the Space at Solaire. The interactive experience brings the magic of the wizarding world to life with welcome dances, photo opportunities, a champion's waltz, a fashion parade, and other festive activities. The event is set to run through the Christmas season, giving fans a chance to step into the magic of the Yule Ball. Already feels like the Burr months. That is it for Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Kapatid, we are One News, your side, all the time. Morning Matters returns at 9:30 a.m. Have a great day ahead.
Good morning mga kapatid. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro. The prosecution has accused Vice President Sara Duterte's defense team of trying to shift the impeachment trial into a debate over criminal charges. Private prosecutor Lorna Capunan says the case is not about whether Duterte should be charged with grave threats or inciting to sedition before regular courts. She says the main issue is whether the vice president's alleged threats amount to betrayal of public trust and a culpable violation of the Constitution. The defense, however, has maintained that Duterte's remarks were protected speech.
And now to help us break down the latest developments in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, we are now joined by House Prosecutor and San Juan Representative Bel Zamora. Good morning, Congresswoman, and thank you for joining us here on the program.
Morning.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, well, first of all, Congresswoman, I wanted to start with one of the biggest developments yesterday, and that was the decision of the prosecution to drop Attorney Zulaika Lopez and Captain Bello as your witnesses. Can you walk us through the rationale behind that, Congresswoman, and when did the prosecution make this decision?
Okay, we talk about our witnesses every day, and it depends on the prior witnesses if we will be presenting further witnesses. So after the testimonies of Agent Kalilong and Chief Attorney Lotok yesterday, we decided that it was, as stated by Attorney Lorna Kapunan, the testimony of Attorney Lopez and Captain Belinda Bello would be unnecessary and a mere surplusage. So we decided finally on that yesterday.
Well, some may see this as a sign of confidence, while others may see this as a missed opportunity to strengthen your case. How do you respond to that, Congresswoman?
Well, we believe in our case. We believe in the strength of our witnesses, of the testimony of our witnesses, and the evidence that we have so far presented. And again, we will still be presenting another witness. So we don't think that by diminishing the number of witnesses by 2, we would weaken our case. We believe that we have enough evidence to prosecute the article on grave threats and inciting to sedition, which, if I may add, we have to go back to the impeachable offenses of betrayal of public trust, culpable violation of the Constitution, and other high crimes. So again, this is not a criminal case.
And yesterday, after the hearing, we kind of got a sense of relief from Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian when he acknowledged that you dropped 2 witnesses because according to their calculations, at the rate things are going, the trial would go on for a year and 5 months. How does dropping the 2 witnesses affect your timeline, and when will you present the next? When will you tackle the next articles?
We intend to finish grave threats next week. We have a witness on Monday, and we will see after Monday if we will have another witness. In any case, we intend to finish the article on grave threats next week. We were previously given a period of 11 days for the article on grave threats, and we can use that as the prosecution deems fit. But this is not a very lengthy article. It's not very difficult to prosecute. And so far, we have shown the major piece of evidence for this article.
Well, last night, Congresswoman, Attorney Kapunan was asked whether the prosecution was scared or afraid of whatever Attorney Zuleika Lopez could have said in her testimony. But let me ask you the same question. Were you afraid of what she could have said that could have been damaging to the prosecution's case for this particular article?
Definitely not. We already have the evidence to show that the respondent committed a violation of the provisions on betrayal of public trust and culpable violation of the Constitution and other high crimes. These are the impeachable offenses that we are after. So as Attorney Kapunan said, her testimony will be unnecessary, redundant, and mere surplusage. This is because she was supposed to testify on the circumstances behind that online video conference of the Vice President where she uttered the statements to the effect that she contracted a person to kill the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House. She would be testifying as to her presence with the Vice President in that room when the Vice President uttered those statements. But since we already presented the video and the defense already admitted that the authenticity of the video because they also played it, then there is no need to present Attorney Lopez.
Well, since the start of the trial, the prosecution panel has already insisted that this is not a criminal case, but an impeachment case. But however, the defense focused on grave threats and inciting to sedition as criminal offenses. Was it trying to shift the issue away from impeachment? Do you think that way?
Yes, that's correct. I believe that the defense is showing that this is a criminal case because in a criminal case, we would have to present the elements of a case, the elements of a crime, and they would most probably say that some elements of the crime of grave threats are lacking. Then again, this is an impeachment case. We are always saying that it is sui generis or in a class of itself. And this is more political than legal. So what we are after is to show the evidence to the public and to the senator judges who will be judging the case. And we hope that everyone sees the evidence that we will present so that the senator judges may be swayed in their decision.
Aside from the evidence, we heard two previous Supreme Court rulings cited yesterday. There's People versus Nabong from 1932 and Paera versus the People from 2011. For the people who aren't too familiar, what is the context of these rulings and what's the relevance to the fourth article of impeachment?
Okay, I believe that these cases were mentioned in relation to whether grave threats requires an effect on the respondent or on the recipient of the threats. So I believe that Attorney Lotok said that the response of the recipient or the effect on the recipient is not needed for grave threats to be prosecuted. It is because the mere utterance of the threat is a crime in itself. So we do not subscribe to the belief that there is a need for the recipient, in this case, the president, the first lady, and the former speaker of the House, to be affected, to be threatened, as it is the mere saying of the threats that is required. In any case, we go back to our stand that this is an impeachment case and we do not need to go to the elements of the crime of grave threats or inciting to sedition for that matter.
Well, so far, Congresswoman, 4 days have been allotted already for this particular article. And the testimonies of NBI agent Kalilong and attorney Jeremy Lotok focused on the authenticity and the manner by which the NBI investigated this. So what else can we expect? Do you think you've been able to establish already the betrayal of public trust?
Yes. Betrayal of public trust is a very general ground for impeachment. And it is the fitness of the vice president to be or to continue being as the vice president that we are looking into. This is the essence of an impeachment case, to see whether a person is fit to stay in that position that he or she is holding on to. So by the mere utterance of threats against the president, the first lady, and the former speaker of the House, this shows that the vice president is not fit to stay in office because we have to protect the integrity, the dignity of the office that she is holding. And she owes the public the promises she made when she took her oath, and that is to abide by the Constitution and not, in this particular case, not resort to violence by way for revenge or for whatever reason.
Well, Congresswoman, today is going to be the oral arguments for the BIR box, kung ito ba'y papasapina or not. But how significant is this BIR box in the case? And I remember talking to Representative Joel Chua, and he said that even without this, malakas pa rin naman yung evidence ng prosecution.
That's correct. We saw in the Committee on Justice hearings that we have other pieces of evidence regarding unexplained wealth where our box is most relevant. So, well, of course, we should just see the evidence that we will present in the succeeding weeks. But again, while this may be relevant, or while the documents inside the box would be important and would strengthen the case, these are not the only evidence that we have.
Later, we'll be hearing from both sides regarding the subpoenas. Oral arguments, there's quite a lengthy discussion on how much time should be allotted. What's the prosecution's response to the additional 5 minutes? I believe originally it was at 10 minutes and then it became 15 minutes. Your response?
Yes, we asked for 15 minutes actually, and we were very thankful that the presiding officer granted this request. And well, we will have our prosecutors who will defend our side on that matter. So let's just wait for later.
Congresswoman, baka you can give us a few details already on, without divulging, of course, your legal strategy there. But who will be speaking for the prosecution in the oral arguments later?
We will have prosecutor Attorney Chel Diokna later.
So just Attorney Chel. Bawal po ba ang private prosecutor, Congresswoman?
Bawal ang private prosecutor? No naman. It's just a
choice,
strategy and choice.
Okay.
Well, we want to touch this issue, no, so that the public can easily understand. Of course, sinasabi po nila na ang laman nitong box na ito would include the statements or financial statement also of the husband of the vice president. And other people or ordinary people would say, anong kinalaman ng asawa ng vice president dito? Hindi naman siya impeachable officer. So could you explain that to us, Congresswoman?
Okay, very briefly, it would be because when a government official submits her SALN, submits his or her SALN, then there is a joint declaration by the spouse. So it is in relation to this that well, the properties, the holdings of the couple are looked into.
Does this the concern is also maybe a violation of the citizen's privacy since he is not a public official?
Again, this goes into the SALN of the vice president when they made the declaration there that, for example, there were no cash on hand, bank accounts were not stated there, or the amount of monies in their accounts were not stated there. So again, this goes into the joint declaration made by the spouses. If you will see a SALN at the first portion, you have to tick a box there that if you are married, this is a joint declaration. And at the bottom where the government official signs, to the right side of that, there's a portion wherein the husband or the wife also signs. So, you know, the properties of the couple are supposed to be listed there in the SALN. That is why we are looking into the properties or the holdings of the couple.
Congresswoman, what about the scope of the financial records of the vice president? Do you believe it should include records from 20 years ago? Because some are saying that it should only cover the years that she is vice president because that's what she is being impeached for.
Okay. The reason why we're looking into other years, as we stated in the Committee on Justice hearings, is that these property holdings, these amounts were supposed to be included in the SALN. And these numbers would come from previous years and not only from the year when she assumed office. So that's the gist of the reason.
Kumbaga parang dapat ma-establish yung pattern na may accumulated wealth in the past years. Tama po.
Because you don't accumulate, you don't get all of your income on the year that you assumed office, right? So all of your holdings from prior years should be stated there.
Right. But I want to ask you also, Congresswoman, Attorney Melvin Matibag of NBI will testify next week. And I wonder kung ano po yung magiging, kumbaga, help no, or significance ng testimony niya dito in your case. When in fact, we are also thinking that hindi pa naman po siya yung NBI director at the time na nagkaroon po ng alleged threat si VP Sara. It was actually NBI director then, Jaime Santiago. And he actually said he's willing to testify if he's willing to testify before the impeachment court if asked. So is this something that the prosecution is thinking also or considering?
Yes, of course, we are considering that. But I can't state any further.
Yeah. Yeah. Tignan na lang natin ano, kung anong mangyayari. But overall, ano po ang inyong assessment? No, since this trial started using this article of impeachment, the grave abuse, ano po ang assessment ng prosecution sa nangyaring investigation na ito?
Investigation or the process?
Sorry, the process, the proceeding rather.
Okay, the proceeding. Well, last week we said that it was a good week for the prosecution, and so far it's been a good second week for the prosecution.
Well, aside from, we already mentioned establishing patterns a while ago, and yesterday Attorney Lotok already said that there was a pattern with the VP's statements on October 18, November 23, and November 26 back in 2024. Are there other patterns that the prosecution is going to try to establish in the ongoing trial?
Well, as regards the Article 4, the article on grave threats and inciting to sedition, I don't think that we will be establishing any further patterns as the testimony of Attorney Lotok was sufficient.
Well, Congresswoman, now that we're approaching the sixth day of the impeachment trial, there have been some criticisms that this trial has been too legalistic, slow-paced, too technical. Some have even said it has gotten quite boring. How do you plan to recalibrate as a prosecution? How do you plan to simplify this and make sure that people are able to cope and understand with what is being discussed in this impeachment trial?
Well, we actually agree. We understand that the patience of the public will wane down. And I mean, even for us lawyers there in the prosecution and defense and for the senator judges, it has been very tedious to, stay there and listen for 6 hours, right? So we hope that there will be less legal battles, less objections. We thank the presiding officer for his leniency, in fact, whether in favor of the prosecution or for the defense, because we want to avoid all of the legal jargon that are being thrown back and forth and the legal technicalities. Again, this is a political exercise, a sui generis exercise. And we just want to be able to present the evidence to the public and to the senator judges. So hopefully we can trim down our the number of days by which we will present our evidence, and hopefully the defense will do the same.
Well, Congresswoman, before we let you go, I want to ask you a very quick question regarding Zulaika Lopez or Attorney Zulaika Lopez. Is there a possibility na siya po ay tatawagin pa rin as your witness in the prosecution in the coming, in the other articles of impeachment?
Well, to tell you honestly, no, I'm not familiar with the strategy for confidential funds and unexplained wealth. It being I'm with the threats and bribery articles, but as stated in the pretrial order and the pretrial brief that we submitted, we reserved our right to present further witnesses.
All right.
Okay, and on that note, thank you very much for joining us this morning and sharing your time with us. That was House Prosecutor and San Juan Representative Bel Zamora. Thank you, Kong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now don't go away because we still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
The impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte is now on its 6th day. And for the latest developments, we now go live to mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, good morning. What can we expect from the defense today?
Pauline, ngayong araw nga ay inaasahan na maririnig natin ang posisyon ng depensa kaugnay sa pagbubukas ng mga bank records, AMLAC records, maging ng tax records ni Vice President Sara Duterte, maging ng asawa nito na si Attorney Manasseh Carpio. Ayon sa depensa ay naisumite na nila nung isang araw pa ang kanilang tugon doon sa memorandum na hinihingi nga yung kanilang posisyon dito. Sinubukan natin na hingin sa depensa kung ano ang kanilang paliwanag dyan, pero hindi ito ay disclose ni Attorney Michael Poa, spokesperson ng Defense Council, dahil ayaw daw nila pangunahan ang korte. Bagaman sinabi nila kagabi na handa na ang kanilang kampo at igagala nga nila ang itinakdang rules ng Senate Impeachment Court na kung saan isang oras para sa magkabilang panagang bibigay para maipaliwanag yung kanilang mga posisyon. Habang nasa 15 minutes naman, if we're not mistaken, ang oras naman para doon sa mga pagtatanong ng ating senator judges.
Arles, nabanggit na ba ng defense kung sino ang magsasalita para sa kanila dito sa oral arguments?
Ayan po rin yung mga impormasyon na hirap tayo makuha kay Attorney Poa, no? But we respect where he's coming from naman. Hindi pa natin nakukuha yung specific na counsel na kanilang ibabala nga sa ika-6 na araw ng impeachment trial, no? Pero maliwanag naman na sinabi ni Attorney Poa na ayaw kasi nilang i-telegraph ang magiging strategy at yung mga abogado na kanilang ipepresenta, no? Kaya ating abangan yan mamayang 2:00 ng hapon.
Arles, may naging reaksyon na rin ba ang defense dito sa desisyon ng prosecution na i-drop sila Attorney Zulaika Lopez at Captain Belinda Bello bilang witness?
Ayon kay Attorney Powa Pulin ay hindi raw nila inaasahan yan, no? Yung desisyon nga na i-withdraw bilang witnesses or ipresenta sa Senate Impeachment Court to Attorney Zulaika Lopez at Captain Bello ng House of Representatives, no? Ayon sa kanila ay ginagalang nila yan, no? Dahil nga yun naman daw yung desisyon ng prosekusyon. At syempre, dahil expected naman daw na may mga witness din naman talaga na hindi na ipepresenta. Kahit daw sa kanilang panig Pulin ay posible rin nila na gawin yan, no, which is pertaining to pag-withdraw or hindi na pag-present na mga witness, no, dahil sa kabuang bilang Pulin ay may nasa 102 na mga testigo combined for the defense and prosecution, no, at sa dami daw ng mga testigo na nakalista doon, no, expected yung may mga hindi talaga na maisasama o mapepresenta doon, no. Pero for the benefit na kung kailanganin ay maipresenta, kaya daw inilista nila yung maraming pangalan doon sa kanilang pre-trial order, maging yung mga reserve witnesses mula sa Department of Education at Office of the Vice President.
At Arles, ano naman daw yung naging assessment ng defense sa ikalimang araw ng impeachment trial kahapon?
Kagaya ng lagi Pulin ay nailalatag naman daw nila yung kanilang mga strategy at yung mga goals sa pagko-cross-examination, no? Partikular doon sa umano'y credibility ni Attorney Jeremy Lotok mula sa NBI na head ng Cybercrime Division na ngayon, no, ay NBI BARM Regional Director na, no. Kabukod dyan, syempre marami pa na tayong inaasahan, no, kasi at this point Pulin hindi pa nakakapagpresenta ng ebidensya ang depensa, only for cross-examination. So marami-rami pa na tayong pwede at posibleng asahan mula sa kampo ni Vice President Sara Duterte.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
Now, today marks the 6th day of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. And to tell us what to expect, we now go live to our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, go ahead.
Angela, ladies, good morning. Today is day 6 of the historic impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. However, there will be no witnesses to be presented kasi nga winidraw na ng prosecution yung dalawa. Attorney Zulaika Lopez dapat kahapon o kaya kung extend until today, plus Captain Belinda Bello ng House of Representatives Office of the Sergeant at Arms. Ang mangyayari for this day ay yung scheduled oral argumentation between the House prosecution and the defense team tungkol dito sa mga pinapasabpina. For example, ang pinapasabpina kasi yung mga bank records, BIR records ni VP Sara, ni Attorney Manscarpio, spouse niya, yung 22 corporations allegedly connected to them, AMLAC reports on respondents, bank accounts, tax records. Dito nakapaloob yung still sealed na green BIR box. May ilang minuto ang parehong defense and prosecution to state their case whether or not dapat bang silipin ito. After nito, ang nasabi kahapon, kagabi ng impeachment court, they will be holding a caucus. Mapag-uusapan doon, ang sabi mga 1 oras siya o depende talaga sa flow na pag-uusap ng mga senator judge. Kung may verdict doon at agree naman ang lahat, sasabihin after ng caucus kung gagawin o tutuloy o hindi. Pagka may contention daw sa senator judges, magbibigay sila ng nasa 2 oras na allotted for the debates among the senator judges. Ang concern dito ni Senator Judge Alan Peter Cayetano, dapat daw bang as a whole lang nila pagdidesisyonan itong mga pinapasabpina o iisa-isahin nila yung mga pinapasabpina ng mga dokumento. Sabi naman ni Presiding Officer Senator Chis Escudero, lahat naman ng daw yan ay mapag-uusapan sa kanilang caucus. So yun lang yung naka-line up for today, plus yung submittal naman ng prosecution sa kung sinong ipepresent nila for next week. Angela.
Pero Merimon, to clarify lang, so there will be oral arguments today regarding that BIR box. Pero pag magdedesisyon ang mga senator judges, it's going to be caucus, tama ba? Ibig sabihin hindi natin mapapanood.
Angela, kasi pag-uusapan ng senator judges muna sa caucus kung ano yung magiging verdict nila dito, especially kung ano yung sasabihin ng presiding officer. Pero yung magiging decision nila doon, kung kunwari may mapag-uusapan, may mapag-aagrihan sila, sasabihin naman yan pagbabalik ng senator judges after their caucus. Pero kung merong disagreement, malalaman din natin yon kasi magkakaroon ng debate sa senator judges pagbalik nila after the caucus.
Okay. So kumbaga parang malalaman din ng publiko sino yung pumayag, sino yung hindi. Tama ba?
Exactly. Kasi ang nasabi pa, para mga 2 minutes each kada rebuttal, kada salita ng senator judges. Pero yun nga, ang sabi pa ng ilang senator judge, baka raw kapusin sa oras. Pero sabi naman ni Senator Escudero, pag-uusapan naman daw yan. Plus lahat naman daw bibigyan ng pagkakataon na magsalita, stating also their case or opinion tungkol doon.
So, ang mangyayari today, the 6th day of the impeachment trial, ay wala munang mga witnesses. Tama ba?
Wala muna, Angela. Ano lang, eto muna, yung oral argumentation muna. Pero kasi yung formal memoranda ng prosecution at ng defense nung Monday yung deadline. Pero ngayon nakaschedule talaga, whether or not may witness part talaga ng schedule for this day, yung oral argumentation. Pero kung kunwari meron mga ipepresent na witness, part pa rin siya ng schedule for this day. Pero dahil wala nga, ang focus muna ngayon, itong oral argumentation.
And the decision, kung ipapasabina ba to o hindi, itong BIR box na ito, ay malalaman din natin today.
Yes, today. Ang nasabi rin ng impeachment court spokesperson Attorney Reggie Tonggol, after ng caucus sa senator judges, kung may mapag-agrihan, yun yung magiging decision. Pero kung hindi, may debate. Pero at the end of the day, ang target talaga nila, magkaroon na ng decision dito sa pinapasabpina ng mga dokumento.
Do we also have an update doon sa magiging panibagong schedule ng impeachment trial? Because we've heard and seen reports of Senator Chis Escudero saying na baka daw ilipat ng umaga ang impeachment trial after SONA.
Tama, Angela. Itong weekend kasi naglabas din ng podcast itong si Presiding Officer Senator Chis Escudero. Doon niya nabanggit na the decision still remains with the Senate President, Sherwin Gatchalian, pero parang may proposal siya to do after the SONA, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. yung pagsisimula ng impeachment trial hanggang 2 p.m. And then legislative matters na to, either committee hearings or plenary sessions to. Pero ang nasabi naman, impeachment court spokesperson Tonggol, baka raw i-consider muna nila yan after the SONA. Kasi ang mangyayari daw doon, kapag ka umaga, may specific start and finish lang daw ng trial. So, pwedeng maapektuhan yung proceedings, yung nitty-gritty sa loob ng isang trial. So, for now, wala pang nagiging final decision dyan. Basta ang masusunod muna sa ngayon, 2 p.m. onwards muna ang trial hanggang bago mag-SONA.
Alright. Thank you so much, mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes.
A fire broke out in a residential area in Dagupan Extension, Tondo, Manila on Tuesday afternoon. For the latest, we have mobile journalist Francis Rivera. Francis, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Ngayon, nandito pa rin tayo. May street or extension dito sa Barangay 163 ng Gagalangin, Tondo. Actually, kakakausap lang natin sa barangay chairman nila. Sabi nga na may 300, more than 300 families ang apektado nitong nangyaring sunog, and then dun sa 1,000 individual naman ang naitala nila ngayon na naandito sa evacuation center kung saan itong barangay hall mismo yung naging
Francis?
Para dun sa mga apektado nitong sunog. No? At nung nakausap nga natin yung barangay chairman ng barangay 163, inaalam pa nila yung naging initial na cause nitong sunog. Pero based doon sa mga residente, meron daw isang bahay dito na pinagmula ng sunog at yung cause daw nun yung sumabog na rice cooker. Kaya naman mabilis na kumalat yung sunog dahil light materials, yung mga kabahayan na nasa paligid nitong Dagupan Extension na ito yung sa may gilid mismo ng gilid mismo ng riles ng ngayon patuloy pa rin yung ginagawa nilang investigation sa nangyaring sunog. Pero so far, Sheska, yung mga residente ay andito pa rin, and dito naman sa Manila LGU ay patuloy yung pagbibigay nila ng tulong o ayuda para doon sa mga apektadong nasunugan nitong nangyaring sunog. At actually, nananawagan pa rin sila ng tulong. Specifically daw, kailangan nila ng mga banig, umot at unan dahil nagsisiksikan na halos sila dito sa barangay hall ng 163. So yun yung panawagan na binigay sa atin ng barangay chairman nila. Tasya?
Francis, aside from yung mga requests nila for materials like yung mga banig, ano pa yung mga kailangan or may nabigay bang mga safety precautions, hotlines, emergency numbers na pwedeng tawagan just in case mangyari ulit, may mangyaring ganito ulit?
Yes, yeah. Sige, kailangan mo magbabahagi nga raw ng tulong, maaari kang tumawag kung gusto mo sa hotline ng Manila Disaster Relief, no, Manila City DRMM department, no, at bali din kayong magtungo daw dito sa mismong barangay hall nila para nga maghatid ng tulong. Actually, may mga volunteers or may mga ilan tayo mga individual na nakikita kanina na kung saan nagmahagi or namimigay din sila kaya ng
Francis?
damit at mga ibang food supply dito sa mga residente na apektado nitong sunog.
Francis, you mentioned na mabilis kumalat yung apoy. Would you know kung ano yung timeline from the first alarm until the fire was placed under control?
Yes, yeah. Pasado or around 4 p.m. kahapon nang sumiklap nga itong sunog sa isang bahay dito sa may Dagupan Extension. And wala pang isang oras, idiniklara na ng fifth alarm o itinasa sa fifth alarm yung nangyaring sunog. No? Ayon dito sa Manila DRRM, fire out o nadeklarang fire out naman around 9 p.m. So, almost 5 or around 5 hours na patuloy na pagtupok na itong sunog, no, kasi nga kasabay nga bukod sa bakipot, bukod sa light materials kaya mabilis kumalat, sinabayan din daw talaga ng malakas na hangin kaya mabilis na kumapit yung sunog doon sa paligid nitong itong mga residential house dito sa Dagupan Extension.
All right, thank you, mobile journalist Francis Rivera. Stay tuned, Morning Matters returns after a quick break.
Good morning and welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The impeachment court is set to rule today on the request of the House prosecution panel to subpoena the bank and tax records of Vice President Sara Duterte. Presiding officer Senator Cheese Escudero said the prosecution and the defense will each be given 15 minutes to present their arguments, followed by 10 minutes for rebuttal. After the presentation of arguments, the senator judges will hold a caucus to discuss the matter, and the court will then decide whether to grant the subpoena request.
Joining us to talk more about the ongoing impeachment trial is impeachment court spokesperson Attorney Reginald Tonggol. Good morning, Attorney, and welcome to Morning Matters. Thank you for joining us
Good
today.
morning to you all and to all your televiewers.
Busy time.
Yes, indeed.
Busy time in the Senate.
Kahit na 5 days pa lang tayo in the impeachment trial, so it's already busy because of a lot of legal issues that the impeachment court has to resolve.
Okay, overall, today is going to be the oral arguments for the BIR box, whether it's going to be subpoena or not, diba? And then we were talking to our reporter earlier kanina, and she was talking about the caucus. Can you tell us more about it? Kasi the main concern here, kasi I remember during the Estrada's impeachment, diba nagkaroon ng mga usapin tungkol sino yung umayaw, sino yung pumayag na buksan yung envelope.
Second envelope. Yeah.
Diba? So this time around, doon sa pagdedesisyonan na kung isusubpoena ba yung BIR box or not, malalaman ba ng publiko kung sino yung humindi, sino yung umuwi?
Actually, the box is now a misnomer because the box has been returned. It's just a vessel of the different tax records that was turned over to the House of Representatives. But when it was turned over to the court, walang custodia legis yung court because hindi nag-issue ng subpoena naman for the box yung impeachment court. That's why it was returned. Now, the recourse of the House prosecution panel, because the box was returned nga, is to actually subpoena the BIR for the production of maybe the same documents or more because at the first instance they requested for just parang mga ITRs, not really that specified documents. However, when they amended their document in July 6, yung request nila, amended request nila, they specified more documents that is connected, one with the Vice President and her husband, and then the 22 corporations that are allegedly connected that they have an interest in. So, medyo tricky yung issue because one, we are talking about the confidentiality under the tax code, yung section 270. Second, we are talking as well about the piercing of the veil of fiction, corporate veil of fiction regarding the corporations naman. So each of the 22 corporations has to be shown to have may ownership doon either the respondent vice president or her husband Manscarpio. So iisa-isahin yun, factual siya at saka legal issue. Plus at the same time, the defense is also posing the issue on data privacy na may violation daw ng data privacy even without the provision of the tax code. So as to the BIR box alone, ang dami ng legal issues and factual issues that need to be determined by the court itself.
But as you mentioned, Attorney, there are a lot of legal issues that need to be threshed out. But the impeachment trial is also sui generis. It's a class of its own, right? So which will take precedence here?
Actually, the argument of the prosecution in their memorandum is that the confidentiality under the tax code shouldn't override the right of the people to make their public officers accountable. So that's why they are saying that impeachment being sui generis should be an exception in the confidentiality of the private documents that's supposed to be owned by the Vice President or the 22 businesses and Manscarpio. So yun yung i-determine talaga kung paano. So, of course, as you also know, since hindi to purely legal, this is also political. So, the political leanings of the senator judges would also be factored in kung ano yung sa tingin nila na parang more of in line with their political allegiances and beliefs, no? Kasi, syempre, sila rin gumawa naman ng tax code, yung Senado at saka yung Kongreso. So, they are the ones who are wise enough to determine kung meron nga bang magbibigay ba sila ng exception dyan? Kasi sa bank secrecy law, meron. Sa foreign currency deposit law, wala naman na exception. Absolute yun na hindi pwedeng buksan. Now, sa BIR, sa tax code, hindi naman klaro. So, yung tatlong issues na yun, kailangan himay-himayin mamaya.
Mahihimay ba yun in the 1-hour caucus? Senators. I mean, there's so much to discuss,
Yeah.
but also there's so much to break down for the audience.
Yes.
How else? Like, I know that there is already a dedicated section in the Senate website where the documents, everything is uploaded for the public to be able to peruse on their own.
Yeah.
But how else can the impeachment court assist the audience in understanding everything that's going on?
I think that's why the impeachment court also appointed a spokesperson so that we can go down to each and every one of you to explain things that the senator judges couldn't be allowed to explain because of the sub judice rule. So, of course, the legal concepts, itong mga pinagtatalunan na to, makikita natin yan mamaya sa mga debate between the prosecution and the defense. And also, the wisdom of the senator judges, makikita nyo, tatayo sila dyan mamaya, magsasabi sila ng kanilang kuro-kuro and views and legal arguments. So, I think to save the court's time, kesa lahat yun mangyari in open court, that's why Senator Judge Tito Soto and Judge Alan Cayetano and the Senate President opted to have a caucus na lang para mas madali na lang pag pumunta sila doon sa floor, medyo distilled na yung mga issues sa pag-uusapan. Yung mga medyo maliliit na issues, kaya na pag-usapan sa caucus. Alam na rin nila by that time ano yung leanings ng bawat senador kesa magkagulatan on the floor.
Well, Attorney, I remember talking to Senator Franklin Drilon, and he said that the impeachment court has the sole power to try and decide in the impeachment case. Therefore, sinasabi niya yung argument tungkol dito sa BIR box supersedes ng impeachment court yung mga rules ng BIR. So kasi I was thinking because sinasabi ni Senator Ping Lacson na he will not and cannot support unless there's a written request from the President or waiver from the respondent. Ganun. So ano ba yung posisyon ng impeachment court dito? Is it really true yung sinasabi nila, yung isang argument na yun na meron kayong sole power dito. You don't need to, kayang-kaya na yun. Parang if you want it, you can do it.
That's the position of the House Prosecution Panel. Of course, they want na i-open nga talaga to, no? So, the impeachment court will have to hear that kung mas persuasive ba yon over the objections of the defense. Of course, that's why we're having all of this discussion is because we do not have any Supreme Court decision on the matter. Right. Because ilan lang naman yung impeachment at saka wala namang umaakyat halos na issues sa Supreme Court because yun nga, we have the impeachment court as the sole power to try and decide impeachment cases. So hindi rin klaro kung itong mga interlocutory resolutions or orders na to na impeachment court can still be brought up to the Supreme Court. May nagsasabi pwede kasi nga dun sa expanded judicial power ng Supreme Court, may mga nagsasabi naman na hindi. So that's another debate na medyo wag lang muna tayo pumunta doon kasi wala pa naman. So, pero dito, sa yung sinasabi ni Senator Drilon, it's a valid point, and I think that is one of the things that we will hear later.
So ibig sabihin nun, kumbaga, whatever the decision will be later, this could be a precedent sa financial record.
Precedent setting to kasi nga parang first time natin makikita yung the whole gamut of one issue ng subpoena for the BIR for the tax records. Second, the issuing of the subpoena to the Anti-Money Laundering Council for the STRs, yung mga suspicious transaction records, and the issuance of the subpoena to the banks.
So tell us, Attorney, how will the senator judges vote on this later? Is it through a simple majority, viva voce ba yan? And can we expect already a decision by today?
Alam mo, bilang spokesperson, medyo meron akong expectation and merong reality nangyayari on the ground. So kung ang expectation natin is based on the Senate impeachment rules only, the votation will just be by a yeas and nays, viva voce. Pero of course, sometimes the senator judges will opt to have it nominal voting so that the public will be able to know specifically their stand. Kasi pag via voce, hindi nyo nakikita kung sino dun yung nag-yes o yung nag-nays, di ba? And it's a very Western concept sa United Kingdom, tsaka sa United States. Pero sa Pilipinas, parang gusto mo yung individual senators tumayo at makita kung ano yung boto nila. So, I mean, the reality can be that as well later.
And simple majority, Attorney.
Yes, simple majority.
Wala mo ng two-thirds.
Wala
mo na. So 11.
Yes, majority of
Or
those
12.
in the quorum.
Okay. So actually, yesterday nga, we saw Senator Alan Peter Cayetano ask Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero if they were going to decide as a body today. But in terms of the oral arguments, the caucus and everything, is there a chance na hindi yan matatapos within the day? Because again, so many things to talk about.
Yeah. Again, yung reality at saka yung natin expectation minsan hindi natutupad, no? Katulad nung pagpresenta kay NBI agent Kalilong, we thought the impeachment court will finish the prosecution will finish the presentation of the witness ng isang araw, pati yung kay NBI Regional Director Lotok, 'di ba? Ganun din, pero nahati pa yung cross-examination ng defense. So, ang expectation natin later is that the presiding officer will rule on the matter by himself. Now, if any senator judge will appeal that resolution by the presiding officer under the rules, they can do so. And that is the time that the Senate Impeachment Court will vote on it. Kung manalo yung apila, then ma-overrule yung presiding officer. Kung hindi naman manalo, then the resolution of the presiding officer stands. The second option of the presiding officer is not to rule on it, but to put it to a vote to the body of the impeachment court. So as to what will happen later, it will highly depend on the caucus. So syempre, they will try to persuade each other kung ano yung mas mabuti at mas maganda.
Well, let's talk about the timeline of the impeachment trial. So at this point ba, still on track ba yung pagbawi ng prosecution panel through Attorney Lorna Capuna yesterday dun sa dalawang witness? Did it help a lot in terms of the timeline?
Yes, it helped a lot because, example, those are two witnesses. The prosecution has listed 10 witnesses for Article 4. So minus 2, so technically the 11 days will be spent for the 10 witnesses. Now, dahil nakita natin na isang witness, parang gumugugol tayo ng 2 araw, tapos, 'di ba? So parang kung 2 na yung nawala, 4 na araw yung nawala. So ibig sabihin, sa 11 days na yon, ina-expect natin na hindi maubos ng prosecution yung 11 days na yun. Kasi nga parang 4 days na yung technically na wala sa atin eh.
Well, yesterday, Attorney, and naglabas po ng statement si Vice President Sara Duterte commenting on what happened nung day 4, nung Monday, where she said that the country witnessed what I have been saying all along, and that is the complaint is not supported by evidence. Did she violate the sub judice rule, Attorney? Because I know this rule also covers the respondent.
Again, it's beyond my pay grade to comment on any violation of the rules.
Yeah.
I do not have that mandate. It's only the impeachment court who will be able to determine if there's any violation of the rules, especially the Rule 18 sub judice rule. Mababasa naman ninyo kung sino yung covered doon sa Rule 18, no? Lahat ng parties, councils, pati mga private prosecutors covered doon, pati senator judges. So that's a matter of fact already as a general context. However, dun sa determination na yon, we have to wait if there is any party who will actually move for citation of for her to be shown cause why she should not be cited for contempt kung merong senator judge na magre-raise ng ganong issue. So, I mean, I cannot say kung paano yung mangyayari, no? But the impeachment court will only decide kapag may motion na because the court is a passive court, not an active court.
Pero siguro help us understand, attorney, ano ba yung, what constitutes as a violation of the sub judice rule? Up to hanggang saan ba pwede mag-comment lamang ang mga parties when we're talking about?
In a general context, no, the parties can, and the councils and the House panel of prosecutors and the Council for Prosecutors can only talk about the details of the procedures, no? Hindi merits. When we say about merits, that's already talking about how the people will weigh the evidence, how their evidence shows this. Yung parang they are justifying that this evidence proves this. Yeah. So yon merits na yon because it already imposes on the public the view of the parties involved in the impeachment.
Okay. Alright, so more than...
Pinawisan ako doon.
Ang galing ng legal lesson.
Diba? Nasagot mo naman. Pero more than anything, aside from the center judges, it is the public that is important here.
Correct.
They are watching, we are watching dun sa magiging takbo nitong trial na ito. And public is also the one who needs to be convinced if totoo ba tong impeachment na to sa Vice President, etc. Ang role ba ng impeachment court? Ano ba yung role nila in terms of the alliances of the center judges? We all know, no? Alam naman natin kung sino yung mga political leaning nila, and we are expecting the center judges to be impartial. But through the questionings, all throughout the impeachment trial, no, in the past 5 days, nakikita natin there are leanings, no, in the question. So, meron bang paraan para magpulis ang impeachment court tungkol dito, mas streamline? Because there are overlapping questions or questioning, di ba, na parang nakikita natin there are political leanings.
I think the policy of the presiding officer is to ensure that the public is well aware of the positions of each party and of course the senator judges. That's why, in a way, medyo liberal siya. Kahit na nakikita ninyo, 2 minutes lang yung pagtatanong, hinahayaan ni presiding officer ng a konting leeway because again, this is a political process, so he has to manage each of the senator judges' requirements in terms of para magkaroon sila ng clarity about a certain matter, about a certain fact. That's why mas magandang makita na lang, mapanood na lang natin. Kaya lang ang ano naman nun, na effect naman nun, medyo mahaba ng konti yung proceeding. So that's why it has to be a balancing act. But ang pinaka-importante is still more information because this is a democratic country. The more people who will discuss about the impeachment process, especially kayo, pati yung mga ginigest din nyo dito na mga lawyers, both parties, magandang ma-inform sila at ma-educate about the proceedings in the impeachment court. At saka pati na rin yung mga legal concepts. Katulad mamaya, duduguin tayo, manonosebid tayo with a lot of legal concepts, no, na hindi lang lawyers ang kailangan makaalam, kundi pati ordinaryong tao. Pero kung paano yun maibaba sa ordinaryong tao, kaya kayo nandito na mga media.
Kaya nandyan ka rin, Attorney Reggie.
Kasi thank you for the breakdowns, no?
For enlightening us, ano. Kita niya, tinanong ni Cheska, nakatulog ka pa ba na? Dahil napaka-busy.
Medyo umikli-ikli yung tulog natin kasi alam naman natin na sa umaga kasi yung mga radyo So kailangan natin mag-rounds din sa mga radyo. Saka sa mga morning show na ganito.
Kaya importante, kahit na konti lang yung tulog niya, mabango pa rin siya.
Ayun.
Kasi look at the outfit, ha? Thank you so much.
Baka hindi ko ito masustain ng 90 days.
Well, it is just day 6 of this 92-day impeachment trial, but thank you so much for making time and for coming.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. That's why I made sure I have to go here on.
Come back.
We appreciate you joining us today, especially since we know how busy things are. Thank you so much.
All right, and with that, that was impeachment court spokesperson Attorney Reginald Tongkol.
All right, and that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cheska Liton-Calao.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we are one news.
All sides,
all the time.